First of all, the culture war that Conservatives and Rishi Sunak, even in his speech, were using is disgusting. It's the last Conservative tactic, and I've always said it as it pertains to immigration and the most vulnerable. When they have nothing else to say, they attack the most vulnerable people in our society as a sort of last measure of gaining power. It's disgusting. I don't think we should be playing that kind of politics. But what we should be doing is standing up for the most vulnerable in our society, whether it's migrants, people from marginalised backgrounds, people from underrepresented communities. We should absolutely be standing up for that. There should be no fear in being able to represent and stand up for the most vulnerable in our society. But I also think we should recognise that this is a really cheap and disgusting tool that the Conservatives use when they have nothing else to divide us and to sort of put some really horrendous dividing lines between Labour and the Conservatives, and we should recognise that, I think.
Do you think that's the same for the trans argument? I mean, so Rishi Sunak, he said that we shouldn't be bullied into thinking that a man is not a man. Do you think that's the same? Does that apply to that as well?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's part of what I think is really vile and horrific politics by the Conservatives, because they have nothing else to say. I mean, what else are they going to point to? The economy? Well, they can't do that. The NHS can't do that. The policing can't do that. They've got nothing else to point to, and it's all he has. And it's really vile politics, but it requires an element of political courage from us to stand up.
What do you need from Labour to prove that they are the party for all people?
I don't know. I think it's going to take time, because I think they've indicated a direction, particularly on trans rights right now, which I'm not personally supportive of. In the future, potentially they could rebuild that trust, but you can't just use people for votes and then just apologise once you're in government. You need to kind of gain that trust.
I think Labour do need to make a firm stand that they are with trans people, because at the end of the day, they are a marginalised group. They shouldn't be attacked from all sides like what is currently going on. So I definitely think a more mature discussion needs to be had. And I think it's silly. Most of the time, these discussions are being done by men, talking about things that are not relevant to them. And I just wanted to see it, become more mature.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I had the great opportunity to support one of the first trans women MSP candidates in Scotland. And I fully support trans rights, and I wish that there was more support in the Labour Party, but I feel like there are many people who agree with what we say, and I just hope something happens.
It's very easy to be scared by the culture wars, and very easy to think you're going to be upsetting loads of people, but actually I think it's not something that most people are going to be voting on, and that actually, why isn't it possible for government to be inclusive and look after everyone, regardless of their gender or sexuality? That seems really important.
The Conservatives seem to think it's one of the most pressing matters of the day, and you don't agree?
That's because they've got nothing else to talk about. They just want people to be arguing.
It's really fascinating to watch the Tories go down that rabbit hole, so to speak. I don't think that Labour have gone down that rabbit hole. I haven't seen it myself. I would say yes, call it out. We need to talk about some of the insane things where we're apparently taxing meat, or you're not allowed to go to the shop more than 7 times or something like that.
Do you think that that's cutting through the 15-minute cities line, that sort of thing? Do you think like ordinary people care about that?
I think it is in pockets. So I have work colleagues who think that the 15-minute city is a thing, who convinced that they're having all their freedom stolen from them. So social media has a way of getting to people and reaching to them and hitting their core and giving them an identity that you just can't talk to every single one of them and say, well, that's insane. And that's sadly where we are. But that's what we've got to do. We've got to give people a reason to believe these beliefs and comments are absolutely insane, and hopefully come away from that.
Do you think that the Tories are wrong to go after it?
Yeah, I do think, because our country, we've got a long history of having different cultures, different people from different parts of the world, and we should encourage it, really. and that block people off from coming into our country.
And that's what I would urge all my Labour colleagues to do. It's easy for us to regurgitate stuff that focus groups tell us or polling tells us. What we require of politicians is to have the courage and the bravery to stand up for the marginalised communities. Because if we don't make the argument, no one will, right? If we don't do it, no one will. And what that will leave is communities like the trans community, also my community, Muslims, migrants, with no one to stand for them. And that would be a real tragedy for us. I've done lots of door knocking, spoken to hundreds and thousands of voters around the country. I don't think we should underestimate the British voter. I don't think they fall for it. I mean, the polls show that it's not working. I think we should have the courage to stand up and make the argument, because when we don't, we vacate that space to them.
Sunak made that quite a core part of his speech. He said we shouldn't be bullied into thinking a man is a man, isn't a man, woman isn't a woman. Do you think that we should be protecting those people as well?
Absolutely. We aren't being overrun by trans people. We aren't being overrun by refugees. We aren't being overrun by 15-minute cities. These are all culture war, wedge issues that the Tories have been throwing out there. They're not real, but they've hit a nerve for some people that they think maybe there's something in there. And again, we just need to talk to people. We need to build those communities. Again, the union can be part of that. I have members who are Tory party affiliates who've even been former councillors for the Tory party, and we have those conversations and we talk a lot of the rubbish out, and it's only that way we're going to do it. But in an echo chamber like this, everyone's broadly on the same sheet. You're not really going to change many ideas.
When you're working as a councillor, what are the main issues on people in your area? Your constituents, what are their main issues on the table?
Yeah, the main issues that are on the table right now is like get rid of the Tories. Well, we have people who can't pay electricity, gas, the bills are very high. We have got people who are hungry, they don't have food on their table. And working class people who are actually even paying mortgage, they can't pay mortgage because it's being increased. There's a lot. I don't know why Labour is not even winning at the moment, because if I was the Prime Minister, we have the HS2. I'm in the north. Why are you cutting services that are for people that we really need?
You're a member of the party?
I'm not. I was a member from very, very briefly from October to January. I left because I'm pro-trans rights, and I don't think the party currently is right now. So.
Do you think there is a party that's representing trans rights?
I'm honestly not sure. I think the Lib Dems and the Greens are probably closer, but other than that, there's turfs in every party, sadly.